What is going on out there, YouTube? This is Keaton7 here with SEL 020.
Yes. What's going on, guys? How you going?
So, he saw Ready Player One.
Yeah, I did.
He saw it.
Late.
I saw him before.
He did.
I saw it, and I've been rubbing it in because that doesn't normally get to happen.
He's such a jerk.
Because he lives in a big city that has advanced screenings for everything. How was Infinity War? Was that good?
I haven't seen it yet.
He's lying, but regardless. Anyway, yeah, I beat him to Ready Player One. I had been waiting for a really long time because I'm a huge fan of Ernest Cline and the book, and so I read it several times, like years ago. I read it again right before the movie came out, and now I saw the movie, I loved it, and we're going to talk about how he felt about it. So what were your expectations going into the movie?
I think it's really interesting because when I went to San Diego Comic-Con, me and Alicia, we saw the trailer for it, and I was like, Steven Spielberg is directing this? Like, this seems like so grounded and immersed into the 80s and culture, and I was like, what is this? Because I love the concept of virtual reality anyway, and I had never read the book, so I wanted to watch this movie without any kind of preconceived notions about what the book was about, and then read the book later on to see kind of how they kind of compared. And so going into it, I had no idea what to expect, and I only watched one trailer. I didn't watch any of the clips. I didn't want to be spoiled by anything, and dude, it exceeded my expectations on every level. I highly enjoyed Ready Player One. I actually cannot wait to watch it again. And I think seeing it my first time in IMAX and IMAX 3D services the experience because like the sound design, the visual effects, when you first see that first race, and I was just like, what in the world is this? Like, where is this going? And it just took me by the horns. It was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, you're right. It was extremely immersed in the 80s. There's so many differences between how things were set up in the book versus how things were set up in the movie. And one of the big things that was interesting to me was in the movie, it's immersed in the 80s, but there's so much 90s pop culture in there as well, 90s and early 2000s.
Well, that wasn't in the book.
It was not in the book because the book is just like a godsend from about the 80s. Like it really is just like all about that decade. Mm-hmm. And in the movie they kind of they put something in there for everybody. Mm-hmm. They put stuff in there for children of the 80s. They put stuff in there for kids, 90s kids. They put stuff in there for 2000s kids. So like it was a movie made for everybody, and it was all things pop culture, and it was extremely unique because it rides that line between, is it a video game movie?
Yeah.
Is it not? You want to chime in on that?
No, it was funny because I was asking Keaton before we even started the movie. I was like, would you consider this a video game movie? I've heard a lot of critics say this was a video game movie, and Keaton was like, no, it blurs that line. Mm-hmm. Conceptually, the way that the game, the OASIS functions, you're trying to get these 3 keys, you're trying to beat something, and it works that way, like how you can kind of skip underneath something to get to a different task. And so it functions like a game, but it's very much so story built. It's very much so like you said, immersed into the 80s and the culture. But then you have this guy named Wade or Percival, and you know he's on hard times. Like he doesn't have a mom, doesn't have a dad. He's living with his aunt and whoever the boyfriend is. He's crazy, and he's just got such a rough life. But when he's in there, he is the man, and that concept alone is just amazing to me. It's very interesting. I thought that the way that they were designing it, I couldn't consider this a video game movie at all. Mm-mm. It's more so just a story-driven epic. Like it's an adventure. It's an adventure movie, and I think that's what Spielberg does the best in is adventure-based theme stuff.
And there's so many. And the thing is, it just the feel of it reminds me so much of those 80s adventures. You know, like the Goonies and Iron Eagle, and you know, all those movies where it's like kids just doing completely outlandish, like outrageous things, like, and so it was Back to the Future, a lot of that in there. Like, it was so much stuff that just, it was a movie that just paid tribute
to
like,
everything.
It was a movie that just saluted everything that was good about the 80s.
Gosh, so many Easter eggs.
So many. Like, it was, and it was all over. Like, every time, because this was my second time seeing it, and when I watched it, the second time through, my wife and I, what we were trying to do was see what we missed the first time. And I think, honestly, we found, like, the same amount of new references the second time we watched it that we did the first time we watched it.
That's crazy.
Just like, yeah, and so I'm interested to hear what your thoughts when the next time when you see it the second time. Now, you also said that you were planning on reading the book.
I'm gonna read the book,
Yeah.
and I want to read the book, and then I don't know if I'm gonna do a spoiler review before I read the book or not. But the reason why I want to read the book is because I kept on asking Keaton, like, legit, well, what about this character? What about the continuation of this? Like, there's a bridge in time gap that I don't know about this character. What is this person's intentions are? Take the character Olivia Cooke, Artemis, or Samantha. I was like, she seems like a really interesting character, and she gave a brief, synopsis about who she was when they were doing the dance scene. And she just got really upset with Wade, and like, I was like, she's such a really interesting character. There has to be more behind those lines. And then even Keaton was telling me about Wade, how he's a hacker in the book, but I didn't leave any allusion to that. That was more so H's role in this one. So, but at the same time, though, you said that they still keep to the centralization of who these characters are.
They do. They do a really, really good job of, this is who these characters are. They just, like, in a book you have time.
Yeah.
In a book you have time.
Yeah.
And so there's differences. Like, I was really surprised how much I liked it, despite the fact that there were a lot of differences between the movie and the book, but it still felt the same.
Yeah.
I still had the same feeling that I did in it. And there's so much stuff that just goes into it. Like, and so I thought if they really did a good job just being able to pull off something that was so honestly difficult to pull off, because when I heard the book rights have been sold, my first thoughts, I was like,
it's a huge undertaking.
They're gonna muff this. Like, this is gonna like do you remember in Jurassic Park 2 when right before the T-Rex is attacking Ian Malcolm, he says, hang on, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Like, that's the feeling that I got. That's the feeling that I got when I heard that they had sold the book rights to be made into a movie. I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be bad. But I was blown away.
But it wasn't bad.
It wasn't.
Like, it was great. And for a person that never read the books, like, I'm just more intrigued to want to read the books. And I think that the cast did a really good job too. Like, they had my man Mark Rayleigh as Holiday, and the way that he played the role, I was like, he's such an interesting character. And I know that there's definitely more that the book has to go into, because the way that it ends, I was like, wait, what, who is he again? Like, what does this really mean? You know what I'm saying? And I'm just really excited about what they're going to do with it moving forward, because I think you alluded to them making another book.
Yeah, so Ernest Cline has said that he is writing a sequel to Ready Player One. I'm not sure when it's supposed to come out, because I know that his second book, Armada, I want to say it was Universal. I could be wrong on that, but Universal bought the movie rights for Armada, and so I'm not sure if that might end up taking precedence over the book, if he's as involved with that as he was with Ready Player One, which I'm really glad he was involved in helping translate from book to movie.
Yeah.
And so I think that he has definitely said that he's working on a sequel to Ready Player One. So I'm really interested in seeing what happens there. Now, you had a chance to interview the actress.
I did.
That plays Artemis, correct?
Yes, I did. So Olivia Cooke, she's actually really awesome. She played in the movie Meet Earl and the Dying Girl, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and they actually had a screening here in Washington, D.C., and when I went there, they allowed us to interview the director and the main actors, and then they had her, and it was like, I was talking to her, and I was like, you know, what do you want to do next? And she's like, I would love to do something in science fiction. I would love to do something with Steven Spielberg. Ironically enough, she's doing that. So I don't know if during that time she'd already was in talks of doing the role, but she was such a really interesting person, and I thought that she has acting chops, and it's definitely shown in this one. They don't allow her to do but so much, but as far as the scripting that Zak Penn did, I think that all the characters don't feel mothballed, kind of what you were saying. They don't feel like cookie cutter, they don't feel cheesy. And matter of fact, like, I don't know if I wanted more of the virtual world or more of the real world, because each one I was like, man, I want more of this. I know it sounds weird, but I would have loved to have been a little bit longer. Like, I was like, I hope there's a director's cut, because there's certain things I was like, oh man, I can't spoil it. There's something that happens to Wade at a certain point, and I was like, I really want to see his reaction to it, because he does suffer a couple different losses in this movie, and there was one loss that I was like, I want to see how he emotes to this, not just his reaction after the fact. And it's like, so many things are happening, I was like, man, I wish I would have had that little bit of moment to just let that ride out. As much as everything I see on the screen is just amazing, as well as they're acting it, I really wanted it to kind of just space out a little bit at certain times. That was the only critique. It was like, that was what I was talking about. Like, I really wanted, you know, some times where in between this, well, I want to know a little bit more about this character and see where they're going to go.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, there was some transition issues in there that were definitely done for the sake of time, because I mean, if any of you out there have read the book, you know, like, Ready Player One is one of those books that could easily be adapted into a mini series. Like, it's one of those that could go, you could probably do a 12 episode hour long episodes. Like, you could, there's that much stuff that happens in the book, and it takes place on over a much longer period of time. And so they had to do, like, they had to change it up for the sake of time, but at the same time, I'm glad that it ended up being, I want to say, 2 hours and 20 minutes,
if that.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, if it was
I want to say it was about 2:20. I want to say, but and I'm glad they did it that way. I'm glad they did go ahead and just make it a little bit longer to draw it out, because it did need a lot of transition. Yeah, it did need a lot of transition for everything that was going on in it.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna have to do a spoiler review, guys, because there's so many things I want to talk about, but I can't. Like, even just the concept of the key. Like, Keaton broke down something from the book standpoint versus the movie, and I was like, really? Yeah. Like, is this how this actually works? And so we're gonna have to maybe come back and do a spoiler discussion versus even like recording, because I feel like there's enough in this movie that we can just kind of keep going with it.
Oh yeah.
And rant, and just the pop culture references and the Easter egg that's a pun of an Easter egg throughout the film. It was great. Like, I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's right now, man, I'm torn between this and Black Panther as my top movies this year now.
Yeah. That's a hard call for just about anybody, because those two, they really set the bar. And I think what it is, the thing about Ready Player One is, I'll go ahead and say it's difficult for me to gauge it as just a movie, because the movie, what it does and the pop culture that it brings in, and the amount of my childhood that I just see in the movie, it makes me feel just good.
Great. Yeah.
Like, it makes you feel good. It's like getting an ice cream cone. Like, that's how it feels. Like, there's a part of the movie that happens, and I actually tear up because it makes me that happy, because it's like something that was such an essential part of my childhood and what I love, and then you see it in like the most glamorous way on the big screen, and it just gave me chills. It gave me chills. It did. The first time when I saw it, it gave me chills. The second time when I saw it, it gave me even more chills because I'm like, man, that was just as amazing as it was the first time I saw it. And so it's a movie that just made me feel really good. It made me feel really good. The references, the things that happened, like, it was just great. And at the same time, like I said, it still felt like one of those old school adventure movies, you know, Indiana Jones, The Goonies, you know, it just like, we're on the hunt for something here. And it was great. And they pulled it off and did it extremely well.
Yeah. It just completely pulled me in. And I think it's got a lot of rewatchability. And I'm not just talking about from the Easter eggs, like just the experience. Mm-hmm. Like to be able to experience it again, like it kind of makes me feel like no matter what I rate this movie, or if I say it's a 10 or a 9 or 8 or whatever, I still feel like in its own right, this is an achievement.
Oh yeah.
This is a classic achievement. And I think that over time, it'll age pretty well. Just because I don't know how they got the rights to do all this. I don't know how they were able to formulate like something like this. And I haven't even read the book, so it's like now when I read the book, I'm like, man, how did you even think to do all this?
Oh yeah, because it's I was shocked at how much they were able to grab. I was shocked at how much they were able to grab and get, because I was like, man, they'll never be able to get that for the movie. Nope, no way. Not in a million years. Not in a million years.
It's so hard to talk about.
And they did it. And they did it. I know. This is
we can't say what is in the film.
Yeah, I'm giving you the frame of a 1,000-piece puzzle.
I know this is a lot.
And not filling in anything.
We're giving you one of the keys.
Yeah, and it's like...
Find the other two.
But yeah, it was really good. I'm really glad you liked it. I'm looking forward to the spoiler review.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. We got to get everybody involved in that.
Yeah,
and I got to go take Alicia to go see it eventually.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this review. Do you want to give it a number rating?
Oh,
I don't know how to do that. Like I'm still caught with this cloud of like, this is amazing.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's hard to give it a number rating because I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was born in '86, and so a lot of that movie, I felt like it was for me.
Yeah.
I felt like it was for me, and so that being said, I know whatever number I give it, it'll be biased. It will be biased because I loved it like that. I loved every minute of it. It was, it was an absolute nerd fest. It paid a ton of tribute, and so I can't rate that the same way I could rate an episode of True Detective. Like, it's difficult. It's difficult to do, and so
I'm just gonna renege on mine. Yeah. I'm not gonna rate it. I'm just gonna say it's epic. You should definitely go check it out. See it in IMAX if you can. 3D was actually really dope.
It was,
and it was a great Steven Spielberg film. And I don't know if he's made a lot of good like historic pieces recently that's got a lot of accolades, but this felt like old school Spielberg, and I thought that it was a real good achievement from a film standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
But hope y'all enjoyed our review. Definitely go and check out Keaton on Twitter at Keaton7.
Yep, Keaton7.
And you can check out us at tweet_JVS, and we will be back later. I think we might do a Stardust reaction, by the way, as well. So keep it locked. JVS, we're gonna stop. Have a blessing, you guys. Peace. Oh, snap. I don't know if you know what Stardust